All right, guys, this one is different. I know that most of my videos are focused on home cooking, but I also believe we need practical tools and guidance for everyday life. That's why I'm sharing this powerful teaching from Mel Robbins on how to never let anyone make you angry.
Days where someone cuts you off in traffic, your coworker makes that same sarcastic comment again, and your phone battery dies right when you need it most, and you just snap? Yeah, I've been there. We all have. But let me ask you something. What if I told you there's a way to never get angry or bothered by anyone again? I'm serious. Imagine walking into every room, every conversation, every challenge with total emotional control. No more overthinking, no more yelling in your car after a bad meeting, no more wasted energy on people who don't even deserve a second of your peace. Today, I'm going to teach you the one shift, just one, that flips the entire game. It's not therapy. It's not years of practice. It's a choice. And once you get it, you'll never go back. Let's talk about how you take your power all the way back. Every single day, we're confronted with things that test our patience. People who say the wrong thing, strangers who act rudely, family members who push our buttons like it's their full-time job. And the instinct most of us have, it's to react. We get angry, we yell, we vent, we stew in frustration. But here's the truth. The moment you understand that you don't control what people do, you only control how you respond to it, is the moment you begin to unlock real power in your life. Because trying to control other people is a losing game. You can't control if your coworker is a gossip. You can't control if your friend cancels plans last minute. You can't control your partner's tone or your boss's mood or a stranger's comments on the internet. You can only control you. And for most people, that sounds like a weak position to be in. But it's actually the strongest position you could ever take. Think about it. When you respond emotionally to someone else's behavior, who has the power? Not you. They do. They're pulling your strings. They're controlling your internal experience. But when you take a step back, take a breath, and make a choice about how you're going to respond, that's when everything changes. That's when you're no longer being dragged around by your emotions. That's when you're finally driving them. Let me give you an example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your instinct is to honk, maybe yell, maybe speed up to catch them because you're angry. But what does that do? It raises your blood pressure, messes with your mood, maybe ruins the next few hours of your day. And meanwhile, that driver, they're gone. They don't even know or care what they did. So who pays the price for your anger? You do. You lose. Not them. And the same thing happens in conversations and relationships. Someone says something that triggers you. Maybe they question your decisions. Maybe they mock something you care about. Maybe they just have a tone that reminds you of someone who hurt you. You react, you get defensive, you snap back, you feel shaken. But the moment you pause and remember, wait, I do control what they say, but I do control what I do next. You reclaim your power. You decide whether to get pulled into their drama or stay rooted in your own peace. You might be thinking, but Mel, this person really is toxic. They really do push my buttons. And I get it. But here's the thing. Your emotional buttons, they belong to you. Other people don't install them. Other people don't design your triggers. That's on you. That's something you can start taking responsibility for. When someone makes a snide remark and it ruins your day, they didn't ruin your day. You gave them permission to. You gave them access to your peace. And they didn't even ask for that access. You handed it over like a VIP pass. So what do we do instead? We pause. We recognize the moment of choice, that millisecond between stimulus and response. That's your gold. That's your freedom. And it doesn't mean you become a doormat. It doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend things don't bother you. It means you step into your power and ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be right now? What outcome am I creating with the way I respond? This shift, this awareness, is the difference between being reactive and being intentional. When you're reactive, you give your energy to everything and everyone around you. You're like a leaf in the wind. Every gust, every opinion, every irritation tosses you around. But when you're intentional, you're the tree. You're rooted. You might feel the wind, but you don't sway with every gust. You choose when to move. Now, this takes practice. This isn't something you flip a switch and suddenly you're zen all day long, but it starts with awareness. The next time you feel your heart rate spike, your jaw clench, your thoughts spiral, pause. Just pause. Name what's happening. I'm feeling triggered. I want to snap. I'm hurt by that comment. And then ask yourself, what's my move here? Am I going to react and give this person my peace? Or am I going to choose a response that protects it? Sometimes that response is silence. Sometimes it's walking away. Sometimes it's saying, I'm not going to have this conversation right now. And sometimes it's laughing it off, not because it doesn't matter, but because you know you matter more than this moment of irritation. I want to talk to the people who say, but Mel, I just can't help it. I'm wired this way. I get angry. I get frustrated easily. And I hear you, but that's a belief, not a fact. That's a habit you've practiced, not a truth about who you are. And if you practiced reacting with anger, you can unpractice it too. You can train yourself to recognize that emotion, acknowledge it, and then pivot. Let's be clear. Anger itself isn't the enemy. Anger is a messenger. It's telling you something feels wrong. Something feels unfair. You feel hurt, misunderstood, dismissed, or threatened. That's okay. Listen to the message, but don't let it drive the car. You can feel angry without acting angry. You can acknowledge your frustration without pouring it onto other people. You can hold space for your feelings without letting them control your actions. And the most powerful people in the world, they're not the ones who shout the loudest. They're not the ones who slam doors or dominate arguments. They're the ones who can sit in the discomfort and choose their response. That's real strength. That's self-mastery. Now let's bring it to real life. Your daily interactions, your family, your friends, your coworkers, social media. How often are you letting little things hijack your peace? A passive-aggressive text, a comment on your post, a look someone gives you in a meeting. Most of us walk through life like emotional sponges, absorbing everything, reacting to everything. But what if you were a mirror instead? What if you simply reflected what's true for you instead of absorbing what's coming from them? This isn't about being emotionally detached. It's about being emotionally sovereign. Your inner world belongs to you. You decide who gets access. You decide what gets a reaction. You decide which battles are worth fighting, and most of them aren't. And you want to know something else? The moment people see they can't rattle you, they stop trying. The drama dies when you don't feed it. The conflict fizzles out when you don't bite the bait. People can't play games if you don't sit at the table. And when they realize you're not reacting the way you used to, they might get confused, frustrated, maybe even escalate at first, but eventually they see it's not worth it because you're not available for the nonsense anymore. And over time, you build a new identity. You become known as the calm one, the grounded one, the person who doesn't get sucked into the chaos. And that identity, that's magnetic. That's respected. That's powerful. So let's get honest. How much of your peace are you giving away every day? How many moments are you wasting on things you can't control? How much of your energy is leaking out because of things people said or did? People who aren't even thinking about you now. It's not worth it. Your peace is priceless. Protect it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. The person who learns to respond instead of react is the person who wins every single time. And the beauty is, it's not about changing the world around you. It's about changing the world within you. That's a shift no one can take away. That's your superpower. And once you see it, once you feel the strength that comes from choosing peace over chaos, you'll never want to go back because you realize that you're not here to match other people's energy. You're here to elevate it. You're not here to be dragged into someone else's storm. You're here to be the calm that clears it. Every time you choose to pause, every time you decide not to fire back, every time you take that breath and act from intention instead of impulse, you grow stronger. You're rewiring your brain. You're building a new emotional baseline. And the best part, other people feel it. They start treating you differently. They notice your steadiness. They notice your self-respect. And in many cases, they rise to meet it. You don't have to fix people. You don't have to win arguments. You don't have to prove your point to someone who's determined not to hear it. All you have to do is decide who you want to be in the moment. All you have to do is protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. And when you do that, you show yourself a deeper kind of love than any compliment or validation could ever offer. This is the mindset that transforms your days. Not a magic trick, not a secret formula, just that simple truth. You don't control what people do, you control how you respond. And that response, that tiny space between what happens and what you choose to do with it, that's the space where your peace lives. That's the space where your power lives. And when you live from that space, everything in your life starts to shift. Not because other people are changing, but because you are. The moment you stop personalizing other people's behavior, you set yourself free. That sentence right there can save you years of stress, anxiety, and unnecessary emotional pain. Most people spend their entire lives walking around with a running commentary in their minds, assuming that every strange look, every offhand comment, every delayed reply must mean something about them. Did I say something wrong? They must not like me anymore. Why did they ignore my message? It's exhausting. It's like constantly living with a spotlight on you, believing the world is reacting to your existence at all times. But the truth is, 99% of the time, it's not about you. People are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. They're thinking about themselves, their problems, their insecurities, their pasts. And when they act out, when they're cold, rude, dismissive, passive-aggressive, it's usually a reflection of them, not you. Let's be honest. How often do you spiral over something someone said or did, only to find out later they were just having a bad day, dealing with something you knew nothing about or not even aware of how they came across? We take things personally because we filter the world through our emotions, our fears, our wounds. And when you're operating from that lens, every interaction becomes a potential threat. Every silence a rejection, every criticism a confirmation of your deepest insecurity. That's not just tiring, it's paralyzing. But when you begin to detach your identity from how others behave, everything begins to shift. You no longer absorb someone's negativity as a statement about your worth. You start to recognize that people are moving through life based on their own inner world, and it has very little to do with you. Imagine walking into a room and someone doesn't say hello. The old version of you might assume they're mad at me or I must have done something wrong. But the new version of you, once you stop personalizing, thinks maybe they're distracted. Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they're dealing with something heavy today. And even if they are upset, it doesn't automatically become your job to carry their emotional load. You can acknowledge it, you can care, but you don't have to own it. That's the difference. That's emotional freedom. So why do we personalize things in the first place? It's a survival mechanism. From a young age, we learn to monitor how people react to us. We watch our parents' expressions, our teacher's tone of voice, our peers' acceptance. We try to decode what's safe, what's acceptable, what gets us love. And slowly we develop this hyper-awareness, this belief that our value depends on how others treat us. But as adults, that belief becomes a prison because not everyone is emotionally healthy. Not everyone is kind. Not everyone is self-aware. So if you tie your self-worth to their behavior, you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster every single day. Let's take criticism, for example. Someone criticizes you. Your first instinct might be to get defensive, to feel attacked, to take it personally. But what if you stepped back and asked, where is this coming from? Maybe they're projecting. Maybe they're insecure. Maybe they're trying to feel powerful by putting you down. Or maybe, just maybe, they're offering feedback that could help you grow. When you stop personalizing, you get to choose how you interpret it. You stop being emotionally hijacked and you start being emotionally intelligent. And let's talk about rejection, one of the deepest wounds most people carry. You text someone and they don't reply. You apply for a job and don't get it. You put yourself out there and it doesn't land. When we personalize these moments, We tell ourselves stories. I'm not good enough. I'm unwanted. I'm invisible. But none of those are facts. They're interpretations. When you stop personalizing, rejection becomes redirect. It becomes information. It becomes an opportunity to strengthen your resilience rather than weaken your self-worth. You know what else happens when you stop taking things personally? You stop overthinking. You stop replaying conversations in your head, trying to analyze every word, every pause, every emoji. You reclaim hours of your life, hours you used to spend wondering what someone else meant, what they think of you, what you should have said differently. That mental freedom, it's priceless. Now, this doesn't mean you become indifferent or cold. It means you become wise. You learn to separate your emotions from someone else's behavior. You stop absorbing energy that doesn't belong to you. And the people who matter, those who are kind, honest, and respectful, will communicate with clarity. You won't need to guess or decode. The rest, not your responsibility. And let's go even deeper. Sometimes the people closest to us say or do things that hurt. A friend cancels plans. A partner gets distant. A parent criticizes your choices. These moments can cut deep. But again, when you stop personalizing, you start asking better questions. Instead of, why don't they care about me? You ask, what's happening in their world right now? Instead of assuming it's about you, you create space for curiosity, compassion, and truth. That doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior. It means you respond from clarity, not from emotional chaos. This mindset creates emotional boundaries, and boundaries aren't about building walls. They're about protecting your peace. You no longer give everyone backstage access to your mind and emotions. You learn to say, this behavior doesn't feel good, without turning it into, there must be something wrong with me. That's powerful. That's healing. You also begin to see patterns in others more clearly. When you're not emotionally entangled, you notice things. This person often acts this way when they feel threatened, or they tend to lash out when they're overwhelmed. And instead of taking it personally, you create space. You might even feel compassion for them because you realize they're not trying to hurt you. They're just hurting. But that doesn't mean you stay in harm's way. It means you make decisions with wisdom, not with woundedness. This shift also transforms how you handle praise. That might sound strange, but think about it. If you believe criticism defines you, then you probably believe praise defines you too. And that's just as dangerous because when you rely on external validation, you become addicted to approval. You perform for applause. You fear disapproval like it's death. But when you stop personalizing even the good stuff, you realize that compliments are nice, but they're not your oxygen. You don't need them to feel whole. You can accept them with gratitude, but your sense of self comes from within. So how do you start? First, you notice. The next time you feel triggered, ask yourself, am I taking this personally? That question alone creates a pause. It gives you space to consider other explanations. Second, remind yourself, their behavior is about them. Say it out loud if you need to. Third, return to your truth. Who are you, really? What do you know about yourself that doesn't change based on someone's mood or opinion? Root yourself in that. You also need to practice self-megabation. Instead of waiting for someone to affirm you, affirm yourself. I handled that well. I'm proud of how I showed up. I know my heart was in the right place. When you have a strong internal foundation, other people's behavior doesn't shake you as easily. Over time, you'll notice you're less reactive. You don't get sucked into drama. You don't spend your nights tossing and turning over someone else's actions. You sleep better. You feel lighter because you've stopped carrying weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. This mindset doesn't just help in personal relationships. It's powerful in professional settings too. You'll stop fearing feedback. You'll speak up without worrying how every word lands. You'll stop second-guessing yourself in meetings. You'll be able to navigate office dynamics without absorbing politics and passive aggression like a sponge. You become the calm in the storm, and people respect that. Now, some people might not like the new you. They're used to you bending, apologizing, shrinking, over-explaining. When you stop personalizing, you stop playing those roles, and that can be unsettling for people who benefit from your insecurity. But stay the course. This isn't about pleasing them. It's about freeing you. Let's not sugarcoat it. This takes work. It requires awareness, intention, and patience. You'll slip. You'll catch yourself spiraling. That's okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. And every time you catch yourself in the act of personalizing and choose not to, you're rewiring your brain. You're healing old patterns. You're becoming someone who stands firm in their truth, regardless of the emotional weather around them. And here's the most beautiful part. When you stop personalizing, you create room for connection. Real, honest, grounded connection, because you're no longer relating from fear, but from confidence. You're not constantly scanning for offense. You're present. You're open. You give people the benefit of the doubt, and that creates safety for you and for them. Think of how much better your relationships become when you're not always on the defense, waiting to be heard, waiting to be misunderstood. You begin to trust more. You begin to express more. You stop hiding behind assumptions and start asking better questions. Hey, when you said that, did you mean it this way? Instead of walking away hurt and silent? That's maturity. That's emotional growth. And eventually this becomes who you are. It becomes your default. You walk into situations with a calm heart and a clear mind. You let people be who they are without making it about you. You stay rooted in your worth, no matter what's happening around you. And that's the kind of peace no one can take away. That's the kind of freedom that changes everything. Because once you stop taking things personally, the world doesn't shrink, it opens up. You're not constantly bracing for impact. You're not shrinking to fit into everyone's expectations. You're standing tall, living free, and loving yourself enough to let go of what was never yours to hold in the first place.